Joe's voice was nothing more than a strained whisper. "Did that sound like an emergency landing to you?" Yeah, it did." Evie reached up and adjusted the vent so the stream of air hit her fully in the face. She was sweating, and the air helped her keep the wave of panic she was feeling under control. They both wiped their hands on their jeans, and then Evie tucked her arm under Joe's, moving a little closer as the plane began to shudder and vibrate again. His solid warmth next to her was comforting as they put their hands back together. She leaned her head against his shoulder, and a moment later she felt his cheek against the top of her head. "Thanks for letting me hang on to you, Evie." "I'm glad you're here," she admitted. The flight attendants gave the passengers directions for an emergency landing, and Evie struggled to control her rising panic. She tried to listen to the woman on the intercom as she calmly explained how to brace properly for impact while reminding people to look around and locate the nearest exit. Evie felt anything but calm as the plane pitched and dropped, bouncing them back in their seats. Once again, she heard the engine scream as the aircraft came back to level flight. The pilot's voice was still amazingly calm and reassuring as he told them they were preparing to land, and he ordered the attendants to stay seated. He warned them once again that the crew expected the descent to be very rough due to the bad weather in the area. Evie pressed herself closer to Joe as she felt another wave of cold sweat begin. The fear crept up her spine, and she shivered from it even though she was sweating. Joe gripped her hand even tighter. She'd meant it when she told Joe she was glad he was with her. The thought of going through this alone left her with a deeper chill than the cold sweats. With the exception of one uncle and some cousins, Evie had no family left and no close friends. In many ways, she'd isolated herself after her husband Tim died, and she now realized as she held on to Joe just how much she'd missed the simple human contact of holding someone's hand. "Joe, when we get off this plane in Eugene, I'm renting a car and driving the rest of the damn way to Portland. Do you want to come with me?" Evie was startled when she heard herself speak aloud. "Yes, ma'am, I do. Get me on the ground and I'm staying there." There was a grim tone in his voice. Evie just hoped they would wind up on the damn ground and not in it. She silently asked God to get them out of this alive. The plane jerked violently and their overhead bin door flew open. Another bounce sent his computer bag crashing to the aisle. Joe snagged it before it could slide away and shoved it behind his legs. "That ain't good. Screw it. Hang on." He released her hand, unhooked his seatbelt, and stood up enough to slam the compartment door closed. He was back down with his seatbelt hooked before Evie registered what he was doing. "Are you insane?" she sputtered as the flight attendant screeched at him to keep his seat. "I don't want that stuff coming down on my head when we land." He'd quickly tucked her arm back under his and taken her hand again. "This really sucks, Evie. I was already freaked out about flying." Incredibly, the plane dropped out from under them again, and Evie's stomach came up into her chest before everything leveled out.